Welcome to the deep dive. Basically, we take sources you're curious about, dig in, and, pull out the main ideas for you.
Kind of a shortcut to the core message.
Exactly. And today, wow, we've got a really interesting set of materials someone shared. Our mission, really, is just to understand the central thoughts here and what they might signify.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, the mix is quite compelling. We've got selections from Hadith collections. Those are stories and teachings from Prophet Muhammad's life.
Right.
Specific verses from the Quran, from Surah Al-Najm, plus, crucially, some personal interpretations that tie these texts together.
Okay, so we're jumping into some big themes then. Leadership, intention, sounds like that's key, and maybe this idea of a divine purpose, all seen through these texts and, like you said, a personal lens.
That's the plan.
All right. Let's unpack this. Maybe start with that first hadith you mentioned.
Sure. So the first one you flagged for us, it's found in collections like Abu Dawood and sometimes called Al-Tirmidhi. It points towards a future prophecy.
A prophecy. Okay. Tell us more. What's it about?
Well, one version basically says that, towards the end of time, a leader will emerge, someone from the prophet's own family.
Okay.
And this leader will share the prophet's name, Muhammad, and his father's name too. And the main thing, his mission is to fill the earth with justice and equity.
Filling it with justice, replacing the injustice that was there before, sort of thing.
Exactly that, like flipping the script from oppression to fairness.
That's quite a powerful image. You said there was another version too.
Yeah, a related account, also traced back to the prophet, says something like, the world won't end until a man from his family line governs the Arabs. And again, significantly, this ruler will have the same name as the prophet.
Right, so definitely pointing to a major figure directly linked to the prophet's lineage and legacy. So how does this connect to the personal interpretation that was provided alongside these texts?
Well, this is where it gets very specific. The individual who sent these sources feels this prophecy speaks directly to them.
Oh, interesting. Why?
They point out that their own name and their father's name match the Prophet Muhammad's. And beyond that, they see their project, alnas.org, as the actual vehicle, the plan for spreading that justice and ease the prophecy talks about.
So they see themselves fulfilling that role described, establishing equity through their work.
Precisely. It's a very direct identification with the figure described in the hadith.
Okay, that's definitely a strong personal connection. Let's maybe pivot now to the second hadith. You mentioned this one's from Al-Bukhari and Muslim, very highly regarded collections, right?
Absolutely, yes. Considered among the most authentic. And this one, it drills down into the power of intention.
Intention.
Yeah.
So what you're meaning to do matters more than just the action itself.
That's the core principle, yeah. It states very clearly, actions are judged by the intentions behind them. Everyone gets rewarded or, held accountable based on what they truly intended.
And doesn't it give some examples to sort of illustrate the point?
It does. Very practical ones. It talks about migration, hijra. Someone might emigrate for the sake of God and his messenger that's seen as a deeply righteous act.
Okay.
But then it contrasts that. Someone else might make the same journey. Outwardly, it looks identical, but maybe they're just doing it for a better job or to marry someone.
Ah, so worldly reasons.
Exactly. And in that case, the hadith says their migration is judged based on those intentions. Same action, totally different spiritual value.
So it really is the why behind it all. The inner motivation is what counts. How does the person we're discussing connect this principle back to the prophecy?
Their perspective seems to be that their intention, their stated goal of spreading justice and ease globally, like in the first hadith, through allnas.org, that this pure intention actually validates their connection to that prophecy.
So the good intention strengthens their belief that the prophecy applies to them.
In a sense, yes. It's like the sincerity of their aim reinforces their self-identification with that prophesied role. The intention acts almost like a spiritual confirmation for them.
Right. Okay. Intention as validation. Now, what about the Quranic verses from Surah Al-Najm? What are the key takeaways there? Maybe briefly explain for anyone less familiar. The Quran is Islam's central holy book, and surahs are like chapters.
Good point. Yes, the Quran is the foundational text. And these specific verses, 39 to 41 of Surah Al-Najm, they lay out another really powerful principle. Basically, you only get what you strive for.
You attain what you strive for, so effort is key.
Huge emphasis on personal effort, yes.
Yeah.
It directly links your input to your outcome. What you put in is what you could expect to get back.
And it goes further than just saying try hard, doesn't it? Something about the effort being seen.
Exactly right. The verses that follow make it really clear. They say your striving will be seen. It won't be ignored or lost.
Okay, so it's visible.
Visible, acknowledged, and then crucially, you will be recompensed for it fully. The fullest recompense is the phrasing often used in translation. There's a sense of divine guarantee there.
Action, effort has consequences, both visible and divinely recognized. How does the individual fold this into their interpretation?
They seem to take it as a direct promise that their intended work for justice and ease, pursued actively through alnus.org, isn't just wishful thinking. It will lead to real, tangible results that people can see.
And the reward part.
And that God will reward these efforts fully, aligning with that fullest recompense. It seems to bolster their conviction that their path has divine support and a guaranteed positive outcome, provided they remain dedicated.
Okay, so let's try and bring these different pieces together. We've got the prophecy about a specific leader, the absolute importance of intention, and then this promise about striving leading to reward. What are the main themes weaving through all of this?
What's really striking is how they interlock. You start with this idea of potential significance linked to lineage, maybe even a sort of destined role from the first hadith.
Right, the potential.
Then the second hadith comes in and says, okay, but the intention is paramount. The purity of your why is what gives any action its true weight. It's like a crucial qualifier.
The key, almost.
Kind of, yeah. And then the Quranic verses add another layer. If you act on that pure intention, if you genuinely strive, then your efforts are guaranteed to be seen and rewarded by God. It's like a complete loop. Destiny, intention, action, reward.
And we should definitely emphasize, again, we're looking at foundational religious texts alongside a very specific, very personal interpretation of how they apply.
Absolutely. That's a critical point. The individual has taken these broad theological concepts, prophecy, intention, divine reward, and mapped them directly onto their own life, their name, their family, their specific project.
Which is in itself a common way people engage with sacred texts, right?
Yeah.
Finding personal meaning.
Exactly. It shows how individuals can draw direct guidance and perhaps validation from these sources for their own path and purpose.
So just to recap for you, the listener, in this deep dive, we've explored a hadith hinting at a future leader-specific name, lineage, mission of justice. Then we looked at that fundamental Islamic idea. Intention is what truly defines our actions. And finally, those Quranic verses underlining that real striving gets noticed and fully rewarded by the divine.
Precisely. These three threads, you could say potential destiny, the crucial role of intention, and the certainty of reward for dedicated striving, they form this really interesting interconnected picture based on the sources and the interpretation shared with us.
Which brings us to a final thought, maybe something for you to mull over. How do these ideas, destiny, intention, action, reward, how do they resonate with you when you think about pursuing justice or making a positive change in your own world? Definitely something to think about.